and welcome to the session 1 presentation for second grade. This is the one about designing parachutes. First, we're going to review what STEM is. The kids here probably have been through the kindergarten and first grade. Some of them may know it, some of them may not. To quickly review, STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, why do we need to do this? Whether or not we ourselves end up in a career in one of these fields or not, we are going to be users of the result of people that work in these fields. We live in a very automated world, and that is why it is very important for our kids to learn about STEM. The United States is also lagging behind the world in the number of graduates that we produce in STEM fields. And by the time the second graders are going to be done with college and hitting the workforce, the need for STEM workers that are trained and educated in the United States is going to be very high. And so we want to inspire our kids in order to pursue careers in these areas. So then what is technology? Maybe as a volunteer here for STEM Session 1, you want to ask the kids to explain or define technology. More commonly, you're going to get people who give examples of technology. They may say technology is a laptop or technology is a cell phone. Well, those are all things that are a result of technology. But what is technology? If you look in the purest sense, technology is something that is created to solve a problem. A pen is as much technology as a laptop. A pen was created to solve a problem of somebody wanting to write. A cup was created to solve the problem of having to hold a liquid that you can then consume, and so on and so forth. And maybe you ask the people around, hey, can you think of technology that helps people walk? And maybe some kid says wheelchair, and that would be a very good example. It is a problem for some people that they cannot walk. The solution to that problem is to push them around in a wheelchair. Wheelchair, therefore, is technology, and so on and so forth. So then the question is, who makes technology? Well, technology is made by an engineer. So who is an engineer? An engineer is somebody who uses STEM processes in order to solve the problems. And there are many kinds of engineers. There are computer engineers, mechanical engineers. Now, can only be adults. Kids can be engineers. If they can use these processes to solve problems, the common myth that somehow an engineer can only be an adult is really not true. There are many kids who have invented wonderful things, and we want to let the kids know that in order to be an engineer, all they have to do is use science, math, engineering, technology to solve a problem, and they too will be an engineer. In this specific example, the book that the kids would have read involves aerospace engineers. So who is an aerospace engineer? An aerospace engineer is somebody that designs, objects to transport people or things into space. And, the question then is, what would you do if you were an aerospace engineer? You're going to say, what is the purpose of this vehicle? How far should it go? Is it a big one? Is it a small one? And perhaps what you may want to do as a volunteer is take a sheet of paper, fold it into a little triangle, and let it fly and say, look, that's an example of a rocket. You just make it bigger and you give it an engine and you shoot it into the sky. It indeed solves the problem of going to space, and an aerospace engineer would think about challenges like that. The kids read the particular story, and we're going to quickly review the story as well. This involves a kid called Paulo in Brazil, and we're going to ask the kids if they know where Paulo lives, and the answer is Brazil. And the kids' parents are both in the aerospace program for Brazil. And the kid over dinner starts talking about, gee, I don't have a lot of friends. And he happens to start interacting with his neighbor. And his neighbor introduces him to a certain fruit. And the fruit is used to make ice cream. And so then Paulo starts getting interested in parachutes for a very simple reason. He says, hey, you know what, if you climb the tree and the fruit is all the way over here, how am I to give that fruit to you, the other kid who's standing at the bottom? If I throw a heavy fruit and you miss it, it's going to fall down and crash. So Paulo and his friend needed a way to get the fruit to the earth without having to destroy it. And they are scientists, they are engineers, so they come up with a parachute as a way to do that. They decide they would have a little bucket. The bucket holds the load. The fruit would be put inside that bucket, and the top of the parachute is called a canopy. And the little lines that connect it is the suspension line. And so they start designing the parachute, and they then go try it out. And different parachutes obviously would fall faster or slower. The fruit may be in it, the fruit falls out. So the kids have fun. And how did they find a solution? They inherently used the engineering design process called EDP. What is the EDP? You start by saying, hey, what is a parachute and how does it work? You imagine multiple solutions. You create a quick plan of how to make a parachute. You then create some prototypes, test the prototypes and see if it works, and then start improving and going through the whole process over and over again. Couple of things we can learn. In today's world, there are many kinds of parachutes. There are parachutes for pleasure, and maybe some of the kids, you can take a survey, some of them have taken that. There are parachutes that are used in defense, and here is actually a parachute that returns a little crew module that went into space. And this is how Neil Armstrong, a long time ago, would have come back to Earth in a little module like that, and the parachute would have slowed the descent of the module when it came back from space. And this is an example of a space shuttle. And in this case, the airplane or the space shuttle is moving at 2-3 times the speed of a normal airplane. And so it needs to slow down. And the way it would slow down is by using a parachute to create drag and pull the plane backwards in a gentle and uniform way. And so there are many uses of parachutes. Some of them are to come from space, others may be for pleasure, and others may be for business. What do we do next? We're going to remind the kids that in a couple of weeks, you will be back, and they, like Paulo and Lucas, are going to build various kinds of parachutes, and they are going to see which one works best and learn about STEM some more. Thank you so much for everybody's time, and have a wonderful